let's start. You need to, before, I give you the meat, you need to know me a bit better. So my adventure with coding started very early, because in the 90s my dad bought the first PC, which was a huge machine, and this shade of beige, I think, is imprinted in my heart for and will be imprinted in my heart forever. And when I was 11, I watched with my older brother The Matrix. It was an illegal copy, I confess to that, and it completely blew my mind. Absolutely. There is my childhood before I watched The Matrix and after I watched The Matrix. And we've already, with my brother, we've been building some computers, and of course, I think it was cool in the 90s that we built our own PCs. You wouldn't just go to a shop and buy one. And we would take, we could read every magazine about computer games or hardware. So we were so passionate about it. And when I watched The Matrix, I thought, wow, programming, how can we do this? And my brother one day brought me a magazine with TURBO PASCAL tutorial. And I started coding. And do you remember this moment when it worked for the first time for you? It's just so much joy when you make the computer speak. And I learned Turbo Pascal. It was a little bit difficult for me because at that time I had no idea about English, and I have even less idea about the fact that these are English words. So what I would do, I would take this magazine and just type this very weird combination of characters, So it is very funny when I think about it now. And, I've been doing it for a couple of months, very alone. We didn't have internet back then. And meanwhile, in my primary school, we started to have information technology classes. Do you have information technology classes in Australia? You can wave because I can see you, I cannot hear you. Yeah, okay. So those classes in Poland look like classrooms look like this, and usually there would be 2 or 3 people in front of one computer. It was fun, learning Microsoft and Paint, and well, it was very basic for me. But when we were just finishing the primary school, and we were just about to finish the course, the teacher told us, look, if you are interested for our last meeting, I can show you some coding. I can show you how to program. And this moment, I don't know, maybe it's me because I was an awkward child, but that when you are in a group and you want your voice to be heard, so you just scream very, very loudly. Do you know that? Wave if you know this feeling. I don't think, probably you're much cooler than I am. So when he said that, do you want to learn how to program? I was like, yeah! Expecting that everyone will be into that, but I was the only person. Anyway, the day has come, and I was super excited to be taught how to program. So the class started, and he said, you can do whatever you want. So everyone went playing solitaire or painting in the paint. And I was like, yeah, but what about the programming? I was just looking around, nothing happens in this direction. So I approached the teacher, And I asked, well, hi, so what about the programming? You wanted to show us how to program. And he said, oh, I forgot the floppy disk, so I cannot show you how to do it. And it would be fine if he said that, but he added, but you know that what? Programming is not for girls. You should go read books instead. And that completely crushed my soul, because I've never considered coding to be like girl or boy thing. And I felt so ashamed in my, 12-year-old heart that I went back home. I never code again. And I decided to read a lot of books and decided that this will be my path, basically. So, long story short, 20 years later, I am a senior software engineer and security engineer. I am from Krakow, but I'm based in Berlin. And yeah, I've been working in tech for over a decade. I've done 5 years of community work. And yeah, today I want to share some things that I wish I knew when I was starting my career with you. Because apparently I like being vulnerable in front of strangers. Okay, so today I will share that with you. So, things I wish I knew about job postings. If you work in tech for more than 2 years, you probably heard these statistics that men apply for a job when they meet 60% of requirements, and women when they meet 100% of the requirements, not because they think that they cannot do the job, but they don't want to fail the recruitment process. This is from the internal Hewlett-Packard report. But the thing is that apparently the thing is that job postings are complete rubbish. If you read a job posting from like even those big and companies that everyone steals from, so I don't know, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, etc., Netflix, their job postings are full of unuseful information, and sometimes they contradict each other. I'm very passionate about this for some reason, and I made even a video about it if you're interested. But the problem with job posting is that it answers the wrong question most of the time. So it answers the question, what is our tech stack, versus what do we need? Like who do we need? And this is something I would love you to remember when you are excited about a job posting that you see. Just apply. Don't think if you are good enough or if you have enough experience. If you check even some boxes, then just apply. Because the role of you in the recruitment process is to represent yourself. And trust me, there will be people who will judge if you are good enough, or like if you are a good fit in the company or not. Job postings, like I got jobs that I was underqualified for, and I was very successful with them. Underqualified compared to the job posting. So if you are excited about company, just apply. Don't read the requirements. And I say that maybe it sounds, really? Do you have to spend our precious meetup time to say that? But I've had way too many conversations with women especially, but men also, who were scared to apply for a job of their dreams. So I think it's pretty relevant. The other thing I wish I knew is about discussions. When I moved to Berlin, I joined a company called Contentful, and it was incredible because I had a couple of years of experience, and I was in the team or in the guild with people who had like 10, 20 years of experience in technology. And it's just that the discussions they had and the level of detail they went into in discussion were completely overwhelming. And to the point when I was like, do I have to have an opinion on everything? When we had those, chapter meetings, chapter or guild, the meeting of all the programmers using the same technology, I couldn't participate I couldn't actively participate for a couple of months, to the point when my manager said, well, Wiktoria, I can see that you're not talking, and I don't believe that you have nothing to say, and you should be more active, And I just couldn't. And I said to my manager, look, give me a couple of weeks, a couple of meetings more so I can do something about it. And I listened and listened and listened, and I figure out that I cannot, that it's difficult for me to participate actively because these guys talked about boring stuff. And then I understood that boring skills are the way to advance your career. Boring skills that are not coding, that are not exciting, but that make your life as a software engineer a bit better. For example, querying logs, usability of error messages, logging the right things, performance of something, optimizing database queries, best testing practices, custom matches for testing, secret management, environmental variables management, refactoring strategies, cron jobs, CI pipelines, API design, verbs and namespaces, how to store dates, regular expressions, feature flags, design patterns, security vulnerabilities, etc. If during this list you were like, oh, this is not boring, this is a boring skill for you. So what you do with this is you learn about the subject. The more obscure it is, the better. You establish an opinion and you advocate. You can write a blog, you can make a video, you can give a presentation in front of your colleagues. Advocate, 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 and then give a talk on a conference about it. And you will see that gradually, you will really set yourself for a success career-wise, of course. I had a cool example of friends. For example, Marina, she did incredible job. She used to be a QA engineer, and then she transitioned into software engineering, and she realized that we use this tool called Sentry, and Sentry for logging logging all the errors, etc. And basically we had 100,000 of those messages, error messages, or logged. Sorry for my voice; it's a little bit crusty. And she realized that this is amount of data that you will never find useful. So what she did over the couple of I think 2 years, every quarter she would bring all the Ruby programmers, and she would make basically like backlog refinement of those errors. And thanks to her, leadership in that, we were able to go from hundreds of thousands of logs to a couple of hundred, and we finally knew when, something bad was going on in the system. I need to sip. I hope you didn't hear the sip. If not, then let's say that it was ASMR. And it's cool. Okay, so another example, say my friend who joined as a junior engineer, but she was incredible, and she realized that what is the problem? Splunk. So Splunk is a tool for logs management, basically. So what she did, she learned how to query logs, and she was the best at that, and also how to create reports, and have it send it. Like, it was such a game changer, because before, say, we would all like spend an hour waiting for the report to pop up, and she had all of her reports scheduled, and it was just like such an improvement. And another example, like me, I got passionate about security at some point, and I learned about this small piece of theory called the CIA triad, and I basically created whole like story how to approach security in an easier way, and I now give conference talks on that. So you see, like, those boring skills will be essential for you to progress in your career, to establish your expertise. And one boring skill attracts more boring skills, and this is how you grow. There cannot be a talk without mentioning imposter syndrome, but I trust you. Trust me, it won't be boring, and I think it will be something you haven't heard about yet. Do you know this woman, Wave? If you know this woman. Okay, some people are waving. Do you know what this is exactly? What event is that? If you know Wave. Okay, 2, 3, 4 people know. Okay. This is Sheryl Sandberg in 2010. In 2010, she gave a TED Talk, why we have a few women leaders or something like that. And this talk went viral. It was very popular. I remember watching it, being blown away. Those early stages of my career, and after that, because of how popular this TED Talk was, she wrote a book called Lean In and started this whole Lean In movement. And this is 2010, so please remember that this is way before all of the scandals, Cambridge Analytica, and other things. So it doesn't matter what your personal opinion is on Sheryl Sandberg. The fact is that she had a huge influence on like women movements in tech in the early 2010s. In this book, I remember reading this book, I was blown away. Remember, I was in my 20s, right? I was blown away how honest she is. How honest and at the same time how powerful she is, so how vulnerable basically she is, talking about her children, her marriage, and also about imposter syndrome. This is where when I learned about this phenomena, and honestly, I believe that she really brought imposter syndrome into our pop culture. Because when you look at Google Trends, there was nothing about imposter syndrome before. Excuse me. And when she published her book, then imposter syndrome just skyrocketed. I need to drink. Excuse me. COVID is still present. So imposter syndrome. And now basically every talk conference for women has to have this imposter syndrome. And it is cool to know, I think, but I noticed something very bad about imposter syndrome and how we think about it. Because imposter syndrome give a tool to people to dismiss others' suffering. So if you feel insecure, you will probably hear from your manager, oh, you have imposter syndrome, which means you feel insecure, something's wrong with you. You don't belong. Well, start belonging, like maybe hang out with the people outside of working hours. Maybe be more engaged, like you don't belong, you feel insecure, this is your problem. Anyone? Okay, maybe it's too personal. I will not ask if anyone can feel that, but I definitely experienced that. And what was interesting for me regarding my relationship with imposter syndrome, that I can have like very good time at one company, and after a few months I can feel completely shitty. Pardon my French. And 2 years ago, there was this viral article from Harvard Business Review, Stop Telling Women They Have Imposter Syndrome. I really recommend you reading that because it's very interesting. And in this article, Rushika Tulsian and Jodianne Berry, they claim something that it seems so obvious, but you need to hear it to realize. You cannot belong, you cannot feel good in an environment that is hostile towards you, in an environment that you're not listened to, in an environment that where people steal your ideas. And it really made me think, and I looked back and I realized that this is not, I spent so much time, honestly years, trying to fix my imposter syndrome, my self-confidence, etc., not taking into account that sometimes my colleagues are the problem. The environment, the way that they don't listen to me simply is the problem. So when you are, it's just like food for thought, if you experience this feeling, which is awful, absolutely dreadful, think if it's maybe not just you, or it's not even you at all, maybe it's something about your environment that needs to change. I wish I knew that way before. It would save me so much time and energy trying to fit in. The next thing I was wrong about is negotiation. So it is not about salary negotiation. There are people who are much better at that than I am. But what I want to share with you and, dig your mind a bit. Dig your mind, is it an expression? I hope you are tolerant for non-native English speaker here. The art of negotiating with the right person. When you are... I used to negotiate with the wrong person all the time. This is me, 1989 till 2020. in 2020, sorry, how did it look like? What do I have in mind? So I would have this dream. I want to lead a project. Okay, reasonable. But instead of saying, like during the after performance review, my manager would ask, so what would be the goal? What would be your growth direction you want to go? And you have like 1 week, like next, on our next one-on-one, we will discuss what your goals will be for the next 6 months, right? Does it sound familiar? Wave, if it does sound familiar. Okay. So I would think I want to lead a project, but then I would start negotiating with myself. Okay, so they will definitely not let me lead a project because I've never done it and I'm probably too junior. So I would like to support the person who leads the project. So instead of being here, I'm already here. And then I will go to this meeting with my manager, and instead of negotiating this so high, I would negotiate this. So we would negotiate to this, and she would say, oh, so if you want to support the project lead, why don't you time box the meetings? So we are on track and we don't have too long meetings. Yeah, so from being the Beyonce of the project, in my head, like what I really wanted, I became a time clock, clock. So think how frustrating it was. And in 2020, I had a similar conversation with my manager, but this time she said, look, I think it's time for you. I had been working for this company for over 3 years, and she suggested that I should move to another team. So I looked around and I thought to myself, this time you will make it differently. You will not negotiate with yourself, you will negotiate with her. And I told her, I want to join the security team for a 6 months trial period. If I don't like it, I can go back, and I want a new title for the time of this experiment. And guess what happened? So I told her this. Guess what happened? Can you guess? Did I become a clock again? She said yes to everything. She gave me exactly what I wanted. And she was even happy to support me during the transition and everything. This is one of the most frustrating experiences in my life, because because it tells me how much I missed by being shy and by being by negotiating with the wrong person. And remember that, and don't do this. Because it's like suddenly, it's worth expressing what you really want instead of just settling for something that is not satisfying for you and will not make you motivated, and you will not stay in this company for long. And apparently managers can be super helpful. So it's I still get angry at myself when I talk about it. And the last thing I want to share with you, which is great because I'm almost running out of time, is something that I regret. And this is the most painful thing to share. So, as you can see, vulnerability 100% today. I regret not supporting women enough. And it sounds when I say that, usually people don't believe me because I've done a lot for women. I've organized over 40 workshops. I've been, I'm a Rails Girls mentor. I I do talks and for women and for communities, etc. But still, I regret not supporting women enough. And I figure out where the problem is pretty recently. The thing is that, you see, we can have those beautiful communities, and it's very important. We can have those inclusive workshops and conference talks, very important. But it cannot be enough, because we need to treat other women as professional partners. At work, we need to create opportunities for women to grow. Because you cannot be an ally if you just listen to some diversity speech and you're like, yeah, that's cool. So what you can do, ask women for a code review, assign requests for comments to other women, brainstorm system design with other women, pair program with women, recommend other women as expert, even on Slack, when someone asks a question and you know that you could answer it, but you know that, there's another woman who can also answer this question, mention her, or mention her instead. You don't have to answer all the questions all the time and be, have like the golden star of the most helpful person on Slack. No, be the person who passes the ball to another woman. To finish, I don't know, I couldn't hear you, so I don't know how you received this talk, but I hope that it will inspire you a bit to think differently about job postings, how you grow, imposter syndrome, and how you negotiate and who you negotiate with, and also about how you approach and how you approach other women in your company. And I hope that we will talk to each other soon, maybe over Slack, maybe over Twitter. All of those things that I mentioned today are on my blog as well. And that's it, what I have today for you.